Well, we're back to try this again. The last time I tried it to see if my oil pressure would drop, it wouldn't drop. So it seems pretty inconsistent that it's doing this. Makes me think something's odd going on with this motor. But I'm at about 180,000 miles on this truck. And so I'm set back up again. So we're cold again, so I'm going to start this thing up. And I'm going to watch this engine oil pressure to see if it'll drop back down like it's doing before. So here we go. So the motor doesn't sound bad. You can see it takes a little bit to come up. So what we're going to do is let it sit here and warm up and see if that pressure will drop down. Okay, so we're not quite warmed up yet, but you can see our idles come down and our oil pressure is dropping. Yeah, this oil pressure thing's bothering me because it's fluctuating around quite a bit. So I'm wondering if it isn't that O-ring, because I've already replaced the front main seal. That gasket went out. The rear main's leaking on this. The oil pan was leaking. So it seems like these gaskets just don't seem to do this amount of age. Okay, so we'll shut it off and I'm gonna go over here and pop the hood and we'll check to see if there's bubbles on my dipstick that might lead me to believe that it's sucking air in the system somewhere. If you can see on the end, there's little tiny, if I get it to focus, there's little tiny bubbles on the end of the dipstick there. And there was some bigger bubbles on it before, so something's allowing air to get in here, and it's like putting air bubbles into my oil. So I'm thinking maybe it's this O-ring. So we'll get set up underneath the truck and see if we can't do this job. All right, so let's get started on getting this pickup tube O-ring done. So we'll start by taking our oil out. We'll let that sit and drip for a little bit. Now let's move up here to the front. All right, so the front cover comes off. All right, so next on the list is this little impeller shaft right here. Right here. Okay, so we got to take this shaft loose because it goes to the front differential. What we want to do is just mark everything. So I'm going to mark this one with this one. That way I know I put it back together the same when I take it apart. And then I'm going to mark this flange with that flange. So might as well keep everything the same. If you can, you can take it apart. Next on the list is we need to get the bolts out for the pumpkin here, because we're going to drop it down. But right now we can go ahead and take this this frame out. It goes down through here. So we'll take this subframe out. Easy enough to do. Just got some bolts on the side and bolts on the other end. So we'll pop that thing off and get it out of the way. out comes the cross member. It'd be real nice if this right here, if that, when they'd made this, they'd made that thing somehow out of the way, because it's really hard to get that pumpkin out of there. You would think it wouldn't be too hard, but it hits against the oil pan and just makes for a nightmare. But we can get her from there. We got all this out of the way. So that is free. Now, what we got to do is drop the pumpkin down over here, and then we'll just lower down the rack, and it should give us quite a bit of room to get this whole pan out. So you don't have to worry about this when it's out of the way. So you don't have to take that off. Then we can drop that oil pan down. All right, so let's see what it takes to get the pumpkin out. To do it, you're going to have to loosen up these on your drive shafts. You'll have to take the drive shafts loose, which is no big deal. One on that side and one over here on this side. So those have to come loose. But the whole thing's held in there by these bolts here. And then there's two on this side, and then there's a little air vent on top. So we just got to take those loose, and then we can pull this pumpkin out. So hopefully with my new transmission jack, we'll be able to do this a little easier than last time when I took it out, because it was such a pain in the butt. So we'll start with these right here. And like I say, same deal. Just for alignment purposes, we want to go ahead and mark these. And just make sure that we put it back basically the same as we did before. So I'm going to put a blue mark across both of those, and we can line those blue marks back up when we're done. Now we can let it push up against something as we crank it. There. Raise it back up in there, and we'll have to fight those to put that back in there. All right, so now the only thing left is these 4 bolts, 2 up here and 2 over on the side, right over here. So we got to do those, and we got 2 right here and 1 there, and then there's a little tube, and then we're ready to drop this pumpkin out. All right, so we are ready to start taking the front differential out. So first thing you want to do, you'll see my arm reaching up right up on top. You can see my fingers wiggling. There's a little rubber hose right there. So you want to pull that little rubber hose loose. I'll stick it down there so you can see it. So there's a little rubber hose, so it goes to the top. It's a little vent for it. All right. So now on this side we have a bolt right here where my finger's pointing, and a bolt right over there. And then on this side, on the back side, I'll show you here in a second. There we go. All right. So this one I'm going to leave in there to hold it up. We'll do the same thing for the other side. So now we're ready to try to drop this thing down. But I'll put my transmission jack in here, but it's not tall enough, I don't believe, to reach the little pumpkin. So we'll pull it down. We'll have to lower the vehicle down a little bit, and we can drop this thing out of here. So now all we got to do is get the jack underneath here, and it's going to be a trick to get this thing to come down so it doesn't come straight down. It comes down at an odd angle. I've done this with other jacks, but this thing's pretty heavy and it was a fight, so I'm going to try it this way and see if I can't make it a little easier on myself. Loose. Alright, there's all the bolts. So now this dude ought to be free. So now comes the trick, is to get it out of there. So we're going to lower the jack down. You can kind of see what it's going to take to get this out of here. Alright, so as you can see, it's kind of tipping. A bit hard to do. So at this point it tips down, this side's tipped down quite a bit. Now we just got to get around under here and figure out its orientation, because it has to go back up in there the same way. Alright, let's get around this side of it. What we got to do is clear the drive shaft, which we are, and we got to get it kind of jostled around so it'll get past the angle of the oil pan. See, it kind of hangs on everything. Get the angle just right, and it's like leaning down on a 45 on this shaft, and then you get it real close to the oil pan, and hopefully it doesn't slide off of your stand. Look what I'm going to do right there at that point is put a ratchet strap on it. 45 on its nose, and it's going to sit right in between the oil pan. The oil pan's got kind of a little notch out for it, so it just barely allows it to get in between the oil pan. So as you drop it down, just roll it out, because the lift doesn't drop straight down. And there you go. So much nicer with a hydraulic lift for sure. And so I'm just going to leave him attached right there. I may look at this end seal while I got that off, see how hard it'd be to replace that. Might as well do everything while we're doing. So down it goes. That's really the hard part. Alright, so next on the list is the rack, and it doesn't have to come out, it just has to drop down a little bit so you have room to get the oil pan out from under it. So we just got 4 bolts here, but first we have to take the input shaft out. So you can see right up here where my fingers, see my fingers wiggling? Right there, you got to take that bolt loose and push the top shaft up out of there. So we just got to figure out what size it is. There we go. All right, so now we just got to move around to the bolts over here in the front. Okay, so now we just move around here to the front. We got to take these 2 off and these 2 off. So this one is a 24 millimeter. And that one up there is a little smaller. Let's see what he is. He is an 18. So we'll start with the 18s. So now, with that dropped down, you got to get it loose from the input shaft. And just lay down out of the way right there. And we're ready to start taking some stuff off to get the oil pan out. All right, so we are ready to drop our oil pan down. So now we just got to get some stuff out of the way. So we got to get some of these connectors and clips. So we'll just pop that one loose. That one slides off. We're going to take this little wiring harness out of here. All right, so now all we got to do is just take a bunch of oil pan bolts loose, and we should be ready to get this oil pan off. So let's start dropping some oil pan bolts. All right, so we are ready to drop an oil pan, and all I got is 2 bolts holding it up right now. I got all the other bolts out, but I always just take them and put them in a box. As you can see right there, I got all my little bolts where they're supposed to be. So now all we got to do is take these last 2 out right here and one on the other side, and this oil pan should drop back down. And then we can get to our little O-ring and see if the O-ring needs to be changed. We're going to change it anyway. So we take one bolt out on that side. And we'll take this bolt out over here on this side. And hopefully we get the wiring harness out of the way in the front. And this dude ought to just drop down pretty simply. And there we go. So now we got our oil pan off. And we can see what we got going on with this little O-ring on this pickup tube. So we'll get this camera switched around and get this pickup tube off here, and away we'll go. Alright, so we're ready to take our pickup tube off. So as you can see, it's held on right here with a bolt, and then there's a bolt over here that's slightly out of the screen, but you'll see them. And then the O-ring should be up here, and it'll be 10 millimeter up there. So first we want to loosen up the bolts that hold the pickup tube on. There we go. Bolt up. So now the pickup tube comes down. We'll switch back over. Take this one loose. And there we go. So now where's this magic O-ring? So let's get in here. So as we can see, there's the O-ring on this pickup tube. And that's what we got to replace, because we're wondering whether or not that's actually leaking. It's really hard to tell. I mean, it's kind of deteriorated, and it's pretty hard, and it slipped out of there real easy. You can see it's flattened, so it's a possibility that that little O-ring right there may have been causing some bypass. We'll know once we put it all back together and get it fired up whether or not it was our problem. If not, the things we have left would be things on like the oil pump, and it's up front. So that's pulling the harmonic balancer off, and there should be an oil pump up there somewhere. We'll have to figure out how to do to take the oil pump off the front there. But it looks like in general right here, I think everything looks pretty good. We just got to change this O-ring out. And like I say, it kind of fell off there. You can't really tell if it's leaking. I mean, there is like no discoloration right here. So there is a chance that it was leaking through that side. It's only held on with one clip, which is kind of weird. If you look at the end of it, it's only got one tab. You would think it would have two, but they only put one tab on there. All right, so we'll change the O-ring out and put that part back together. But I'm going to continue on, and I'm actually going to tackle this rear main that's leaking. And so I'm going to leave the oil pan off, but at this point, if this was all you were doing, you just change your O-ring out, put it all back together, oil pan, steering rack, pumpkin, and button it all back up. So there you go. Not too bad of a job, especially if you got a lift that you can get that front differential out with. If not, you're going to work. So there you go. All right, so after this O-ring on the oil pickup tube change out, we fired her back up, and as you can see, I let it warm up for a couple minutes, but now I'm pushing up in the mid 40s, and my idle's down low like it ought to be. So looks like we're in pretty good shape. I think that must have been the problem, because that's the only thing that changed. Well, alrighty, I guess that may have fixed our oil pressure issue. And well, this little Escalade's gonna run a little bit longer. Well, alrighty. Well, thanks for watching.